Hanging out with the big dog. Come on in, Real Estate Roundup homies. Good afternoon. Greetings to you. Come on in, class. Come on in. It is so good to see you again in this beautiful summer weather. I am Chris Haskins. I'm going to be your co-pilot for this training here as we fly 40,000 feet. Literally, our guests tonight just flew from where you come from, Bill. From where to where?
Denver to LA.
So I actually just get off a plane 40,000 feet up in the air. But this flight is going to help you to not only deploy some real estate investing strategies, but Bill, having been in the real estate investing game since the Jurassic era, can kind of understand, kind of unfold and unpack what we're seeing now. Our guest tonight, Bill Bronchick, real estate attorney and investor. What's going on, homie?
The word is the market is ripe for deals. Ripe. And, everyone's looking at it from a different standpoint of, interest rates and inflation and we're in a recession and everything's costing more. And it's just how you look at it. It's how you look at it.
So amazing you say that, Bill, because I could see the glass half empty or the glass half full. Frame it up. Let's stay here for a minute, brother, because your perspective.
Yeah, I frame it from those of you who have read the Bible. There was when the Israelites came out of Egypt, God led them to the Promised Land, and in the beginning, and said, "Go in and send spies to check it out, do some recon." So they sent in 12 spies, one from each of the 12 Israeli tribes. And 10 of the 12 came back and said, "They're giants and we're just grasshoppers." And 2 of them said, "No, it doesn't matter. God's going to plow the way and we're going to win." And they stoned the 2 of them because they were all chicken. And that's why they spent 40 years in the desert. Because God was upset with them because they didn't trust him, and that's really, the mirror of what we see today. 10 out of 12 people see giants, grasshoppers, obstacles, and instead of seeing the land of milk and honey. And that's what you have to look at it as, because there are opportunities in this market and there are pitfalls depending on how you want to focus.
That's crazy how you say focus, Bill. From I've only been in the game since 2004. You've been in the business and like 10 years longer. Bill, I have to beat it in my head that successful real estate investors run 2 problems and not away. Help my roundup homies. What would you say to that statement?
Right. So we're not in the real estate business. We're in the problem solving business. People have problems. They can't make their payments. Inflation, everything costs more. They can't make their mortgage. They're choosing between making their mortgage payment and feeding their family, and we can help these people out, because if we don't, they end up in foreclosure, they lose their home, they ruin their credit, and we can step in and provide a solution that gets them some of their equity at least out, avoid a foreclosure, clean up their credit, and get them on their way to, rebuilding their life.
Move them down the street. I'm glad you said that, get them on the way, because from the deals that we do, it's really not about the house.
No.
I like to ask, what is it that you're looking for yourself? How can we help you personally?
Right. My mentor, A.D. Kessler, once said, "No such thing as a problem house, only problem ownerships."
I like that. So tonight, Real Estate Roundup homies, make sure you hit that thumbs up down there. Bill and I are going to go back and forth a little bit. Well, more Bill. He's going to be training on tons of ways you can buy real estate creatively. I'm here to tell you, I am only here. I only exist in this business because of what I have learned, not only from this real estate attorney and investor here, all my mentors, but Bill being a huge giant that I've been able to stand on his shoulders since I started in 2004. I stalked him from 2000. I don't know when I first met you in 2005. He came out here, spoke. I actually put my hands on him many years ago, took his trainings. And I'm here to tell y'all, this is one of the reasons I exist in this game, in this space, because of creative real estate. So Bill and I are going to go back and forth for a few moments. And then please get your Q&A in the chat box here. We got a new member here, Edward. Thank you so much for joining the channel. New members as well as members will have questions answered first. So don't forget, this is coming right from an attorney. He's got a lot to lose. I don't have a license and all this stuff, so God knows what he's talking about.
I only talk about what's legal, ethical, and profitable.
All right, I like that. All right, Bill. So creative financing. Give us just an overall view before we get into the strategies itself.
Yeah. So what we're looking to do is outside the norm. And the norm is people put 20% down minimum. They go to the lender and they borrow on a 30-year mortgage and they try to cash flow. And as many of you know, in most markets, you can't cash flow in these numbers because the prices are high. Even if you can get a little bit of a discount, you're paying 8% interest. It's real hard, even with 20% down, to get enough rent to even break even. So that strategy is not working in today's market. What we want to do is work something creative outside of that box, so to speak, and work with a seller to cooperate and carry payments for all or part of their equity or leverage their existing loan at much lower interest rates. So, for example, if a seller, let's say we got a landlord, a lot of landlords are exiting the business now, all across. I know in my state, they're on the war path on landlords. New regulations, harder to evict people, all kinds of tenants' rights, and for no reason. It's not like we're abusing tenants. It's just that after COVID, they just felt like, we're going to stick it to landlords because there's more tenants who vote than landlords who vote. And they don't realize that 65% of landlords are just mom and pops. That's their retirement. It's not big corporate landlords.
Yep.
So a lot of landlords are ticked off, frustrated, and they want out. So you get a 70 or 75-year-old couple who owns properties free and clear. They've owned it for a long time. Maybe they bought it for $50,000 way back when, and now it's worth $350,000. It's a monster capital gain if they sell it. They got to fix it up to, its beautiful state to get top dollar for it with a realtor. And if you say to them, look, I'll give you close to $350 for it if you're willing to take payments for your equity. Now, why would they do that? Number one, tax reasons, because if you sell for $350 and you bought it for $50, you have a $300,000 capital gain due that year. Okay? If they take payments on their equity, like in the form of a note and a mortgage over 30 years, and they be the bank and take payments, then they spread their tax liability over 30 years. So they're paying it little bits and pieces as they receive it instead of all at once. And that's a big advantage. They also get a higher price because if they're willing to accept your terms as opposed to a cash offer, which you want to pay much less, they're doing better. And plus, they're going to get interest on their money in an investment that they know. It's collateralized by an investment they've known for a long time. So that way, we could go in with maybe 10 or 5% down and get maybe 3 or 4% interest, and the numbers work that way. So we're looking for frustrated, retiring landlords who would otherwise sell it to an owner-occupant, which actually hurts tenants because the fewer the rentals, the higher the rent prices, right? So we keep it as a rental, and we give them what they're looking for, which is cash flow without the headache. I have one guy I'm negotiating with now. He's got 38 properties in the city of Denver. The city of Denver implemented a new rule, rental registrations. You got to register every unit, pay a fee, and have an annual inspection that you have to pay for.
What? Hold on. Let's tell you.
You got to register each rental unit with the city.
That's down in code compliance.
This is
And zoning. Okay, go ahead.
The city of Denver doesn't have the manpower to inspect it, so they're going to have independent inspectors inspect it to make sure it complies with building code and safety code.
Oh my God.
You pay for the inspection as the landlord. And so he's got these old 1950s houses that the electric is not up to date. The plumbing is not up to date. It's livable. It's safe, but it's just not up to code. So he says, this is going to cost me somewhere between $800 and $1 million to upgrade these properties. I don't want to do that. I don't have that kind of money. So I'm just going to sell them all owner carry to my tenants. And I said, well, your tenants really can't afford it if you do the math. I said, but an investor who buys them from you can make it work. So I'm negotiating a deal with him to buy these properties where he's going to carry the payments. He owns them all free and clear.
Wow.
And I'm going to get a little bit of a discount, 3 or 4% interest. Then I'm going to fix them up a little bit, and I'm going to rent some, and I'm going to sell some on owner financing too.
Wow.
At market, which is now 7-8. So the big thing now is people are whining about interest rates in the market being 7-8%. Well, if you're selling a property as a seller with owner financing to a buyer, you get 7-8%. And if you have an underlying loan that's 3, you're making a 4 to 5 point spread.
Wow. I'm thinking about myself, Bill, as I age. I'm thinking about how am I going to, the ultimate exit. Like there's no like class or course that talks about this stuff.
Right.
Everybody's like, make money, earn.
Mm-hmm.
But, in reality, once you do all of that, you're at the top of the mountain. Now you still have to figure out where you're going to go.
Right. Well, it's either you're going to sell them owner carried, like I just described.
Yeah.
Or you're just going to turn it over to your kids and grandkids and pass them along as a legacy.
Well, the problem with that, Bill, I'm learning, and once again, I'm new to the game. I don't know if my kids want to be landlords.
Well, the thing is, you got to get them involved early. I did a course not that long ago on investing for teens and young adults, but it really wasn't so much to teach the kids and young adults. It was to educate the heirs so that, mom and pop build this empire. The worst thing that can happen is the kids inherited it and go, we don't want this. We don't know what to do with this. So we're just going to sell it all and buy mutual funds.
Oh, my Lord.
What a disaster that would be, right? So I'm helping them set it up as a lawyer. I'm setting it up where they can't sell the property.
Yes.
They have to, keep it in place and live off the rent so they can pass it on to the grandkids.
So that'll be another training we'll have to do, Bill, because I'm in the market for that too for you. So I'll be in touch with you to do that. So buying these pieces of real estate, Bill, so it sounds like to me you're building value for the seller, not necessarily you trying to go in there and get the best deal for yourself. I mean, you want to.
You got to sell it. See, most people, when they come across a seller that owns a piece of property free and clear, is the amateur thing. You own it with no mortgage. Will you be the bank and seller finance? And the answer is almost universally no, because you haven't sold it. You have to sell them on the benefits. So one of them is the tax benefit of carrying payments over 30 years. And the great thing is, let's say it's $300,000 gain, which 20% rate, that's $60,000 in tax. If you pay that over 30 years, it's the same amount.
Wow.
Whether you pay it up front or you pay it over 30 years, there's no penalty, there's no additional interest. So ask any knucklehead and say, would you rather pay your taxes now or the same amount over 30 years? Of course the answer is going to be later than now.
My math is correct. It's like $2,000 a year. That's crazy, Bill.
Right. You'd rather pay it later than pay it now if it's the same amount.
That is so cool.
They get a higher price than if you want a cash offer. Well, that's going to be a discounted one. And then reason number 3 is they get interest on their money in a way that's secure and guaranteed every month without the hassle of tenants.
So this particular, I want to make sure my roundup family knows, what is the name of this strategy we're talking about now, Bill?
It's just seller financing.
Seller financing.
Straight up seller financing. And I asked them a simple, see, most people ask, will you seller finance? The answer is no.
Yeah, I know.
Would you be interested, Mr. Seller, in hearing about an offer that would give you the highest possible price, a residual stream of income, and the best tax benefits on the sale?
Wow.
And they go, oh, tell me more.
That's hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a pin in that. I don't know what time it is. I don't know, but what 15 minutes. That's a beast right there, Bill. I'm imagining how that lands, especially coming from an attorney, or if you got the poundage to push it through, Wow.
Mhm.
That's a good one. How many years did it take you to come up with that one, bro?
About 15.
Yeah.
Because of asking, will you go on a carry? Because usually they don't understand it. They've done it before. They know a friend who did it, didn't work out. They really want cash. But if you ask them, what are you going to do with the cash? What do you need the cash for? Remember, it's about solving problems.
Mhm.
And if you get to what do you need the cash for? If they don't need it,
Mhm.
they're going to stick it in a bank and earn an abysmal rate of interest. Then why not, give them something that's a little better?
So is that another thing you add in when you're negotiating? What do you need the money for?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Before I ever make an offer, I want to know what's the story behind the sale.
Mm.
Not price and terms. What are you trying to accomplish? How much cash do you need at closing? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go? What is the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Can't solve the problem if you don't know what the problem is.
That's so true. Got to find out the problem. Bill, a lot of wholesalers send me deals, but they send me address, beds, baths, pictures, and they say, all right, this is it.
Yeah.
It
Well,
just makes me crazy. Go
it
ahead.
makes me crazy too because we get deluged by emails like that, and you want to make it easier for me to make a decision. So I have a sample flyer that I use, pictures, video links. Here's the rental comps, what it would rent for. If you fixed it and rented it, this is your numbers. If you fixed it and flipped it, these are your numbers. And here's the comps to justify that. Here's a couple of hard money lenders that might lend you money. Make it easy for them.
Make it easy. Make it easy. First question I ask is, why are they selling? Why? Why would they even take my offer if I'm making an offer like this?
Right.
So round up, homies. If you're just joining us, I got to reintroduce you, Bill. We're hanging out with attorney Bill Bronchick. We've got his back to school special starting today. Bill has been so gracious to give my real estate roundup homies, just us, a back to school special because we missed Labor Day. I've been actually negotiating with Bill for a week trying to put this together for you. So make sure you stay tuned to the end. We're going to have some special goodies for you. It's going to be in the video description. So Bill, we got seller financing. So I want to make sure I move on to the strategies and then get Q&A.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to go over with obviously we can't cover too much detail in an hour, but with seller financing, anything else you want to bless us with regarding that, the possibilities?
I go with my offer. I have the Herman Cain, not the Herman Cain. Was it Herman Cain? Yeah, Herman Cain was the 999 guy.
What's I don't know that.
Herman Cain, the guy who ran for president last,
I know the guy, but what's 999?
The 999 plan was 9% interest, 9% sales tax, 9% income tax. I don't remember what the other 9 was.
Okay.
Yeah, the 999 plan. So I came up with the 555 plan after.
Okay.
That. So my standard offer is up to 5% down, up to 5% interest, and no less than a 5-year term. So if it's amortized over 30 years, I don't want a early payoff, which we call a balloon, less than 5 years. Less than 5 years. So that's my standard offer, 555. Now I don't say that to the seller. Let me tell you about my 555 program. Okay. It's just in my head. I go, okay, it's I come up with numbers that you can't do in your head. So like 308,900. Now we know 5% of that is roughly 15 grand. So I go, 14,300 down, X amount a month. And then if they say that's too long, then we negotiate what the early payoff, the balloon would be.
Now explain to my roundup family, they might not be understanding 30-year AM, 5-year term because it took me a while to get that bill.
30
Unpack it a little bit.
A standard loan is amortized. It's a schedule of payments over 30 years of principal and interest.
Okay.
In the beginning, it's mostly interest, and towards the end, it's mostly principal, but it's the same payment every month. A premature payoff or a maturity date, or sometimes called a balloon, it's what I just described, but after, let's say, 5 years, whatever is owed has to be paid up at that point. The balance of the principal has to be paid. That's an early payoff or a balloon. Ideally, we don't want a balloon. We want to just pay it over 30 years. Because if we have a 5-year balloon, we have to either sell it, refinance it, or negotiate a longer term. Which is usually the strategy I do. Like when it gets close to that 5 years, I say, look, I've been paying you. How's it going? Is it working for you? If I pay some chunk of principal down on the balance, would you carry it for another 5 years?
So the payment is based on 30 years, so I understand you.
Mm-hmm.
The payment's based on 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
but the loan is actually due in 5.
Right. The balance was due.
Balance
because
due.
over that first 5 years, you're paying some principal down.
Mm-hmm.
So if you started with 300, it might be 285 after 5 years.
Got it. So y'all get that. It took me a while to get that, y'all. I didn't know that you could have 2 type of terms on a loan. I didn't know that there could be. So your payment is that's what gets the payment affordable and
Right.
cash flowable for 30 years. But they're saying, look, I'll finance it for 30-year payment, but I want the remainder. I want you to I want to have all the money paid off by that 5th year.
Yeah, and a lot of times with that, I try to talk them out of that because I'll tell them, listen, the whole point of this 30-year payment plan is you pay the taxes a little bit at a time over 30 years. In year 5, the rest of the taxes is due. So do you really need the money in 5 years? Or they go, well, I'm 78 and I can't carry payments for 30 years. Yes, you can. It'll be part of your estate. And then those payments will now go to your family after you're gone.
Wow. Wow, Bill. I hope y'all getting that one. Darn, I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, because most people think I'm too old to carry 30 years.
That's what they say.
Right. And you say, look.
That's what I would say.
Right. Would you leave a pile of cash to your grandchildren? Or would you rather leave?
No, never. I don't want to leave cash to them, Bill.
Right. Now, if they need it, like in some event happens in 5 years that they need the cash, then they need the cash. But if they don't, they're just imagining in their head that it has to be paid off before they die.
Wow. Y'all give Bill a thumbs up for that one. Man, because a lot of times I say 30 years, I won't even be around. I've heard that so many times.
Right. And I've done 40-year loans too because the payment's lower.
Oh, yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So those payments actually just pass down to the estate and to the heirs after that.
Yeah, I just closed one for a client like that where the son of the estate took a note for the estate and he's the sole heir, so he's going to collect those payments.
Man, that's a monster move, Bill. Oh, good gracious. Because when you get to a position, well, for me, I'm just nervous about giving, let's just say $1 million to a child or a 20-something-year-old. They don't know what it's like giving a 1-year-old a Rolex.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what to do with it.
Good analogy.
All right, so we get seller financing, Bill. My favorite. You want to go to sub 2 next, or what next strategy?
Sure. Buying subject to. So this is basically what I call OPM, which a lot of people think of as other people's money, and I call it other people's mortgages. So this is a scenario usually where someone has not a lot of equity, like VA loans. With VA loans, and in your area, you've got lots of them.
Tons of them, man.
So VA borrowers don't put any money down, so they don't have a lot of equity. So let's say they bought a house a few years ago for $350, and they owe $340, and the market really hasn't gone up that much in the last few years. If they sold it with a realtor, they'd be out of pocket for the commission.
Yeah.
But they might have a 3% loan or 2.8% loan. So you could buy that property by having the seller transfer title to you with a deed at closing, subject to the existing mortgage. What that means is you're not going to assume it. You're not going to call the bank and ask for permission. You're not going to pay it off as you normally do and get a new loan. You're going to just leverage their loan, other people's mortgages. And going forward after the closing, you'll make the payments to their lender for that loan, and it could be 2.8%, which would make a great rental. Now, it doesn't have a lot of equity, but that's not the point. It's cash flow. It's cash flow. And I've bought properties like that where I gave them cash. because the loan was 2.4%. And I overpaid for the property. Get this, I overpaid. It's worth 350. They owe 340, and I gave them 15.
Gosh gracious.
But it was worth it because I made $480 a month cash flow by renting it.
You get your money back and
I get my money back quickly.
Yeah. That's crazy, Bill.
Yeah. So it's fine. And in the long term, the property will go up in value. The mortgage will pay down the balance, and I'll have equity. But in the meantime, as long as I have cash flow, who cares?
So the monthly payment is key on these type of deals.
The key is the monthly. What you're buying is a monthly payment. You're not buying equity. You're buying a monthly payment. See, we're always taught that a loan is a liability. But in today's market, a loan fixed at under 3% is actually an asset. And that asset has value that you can buy because you can leverage that 3% in a market where things are 8%.
Bill, tell me about this particular type of person we're helping here, because you're saying the loan's going to stay in place, but we own the house.
Right.
Who's the type of person going to do that?
So if it's a VA loan, it would be a veteran, probably a young veteran, young military family. Deployment unfortunately puts a lot of stress on families, a lot of divorces. And they get transferred a lot, and they need a quick sale, but they don't really have time or enough equity to pay a realtor. So we're solving a problem, and we're making money.
Now, does the subject to strategy, what about if it's going to foreclosure, Bill? If it's headed toward foreclosure?
Same deal, except at closing, you're going to make up the back payments that are behind. So in that case, you're really doing them a favor, because if it goes to foreclosure, their credit is destroyed for years. If you make up what we call the arrearage, the back payments, and then pay that on time going forward, you're improving their credit. So you're taking a no-win scenario from a seller's standpoint into a win-win.
Got it. No win to win-win. Y'all hear that? Mm-hmm. I'm presuming you've said that a few hundred times, Bill. No win situation. I'm thinking about all the people that I'm seeing their faces in front of me, and they are facing no win. And then you show up.
And we make it a win.
Making it work.
Yeah.
Round Up Homies, we're here with Bill Bronchick opening up his back to school special. Bill, we're going to keep going on the training here, but you gave me some specials. Tell us real quick about the special that you're giving us for this back to school thing for a few days, Bill.
Well, a bigger discount than I gave on Labor Day to my own list.
Thank you, brother.
I only gave him 30% off. I'm giving 50% off to your list. So we have my Subject to course, which teaches Subject to. Creative financing, which covers more than Subject to. It covers about a dozen different little or no money down financing strategies. If you really like the Subject to, get the Subject to course. If you want to learn more, then get the creative financing course. I also have a course on lease options, which we can talk about next, which is another niche strategy. Mm-hmm. And another one called How to Create a Cash Cow, which is we buy it Subject to, and then we sell it on what's called a wrap, which I'll explain in a moment after we talk about the discount. But that's the real killer in today's market.
Bill, do you attribute creative financing to the success and the longevity of your career?
Absolutely. When I got started in real estate in 1992, interest rates for investors was 10.75%. And it was a tough job to get a loan.
What was the attitude of investors regarding interest rates?
Whatever.
What it is.
It is what it is. It was 10.75, and people made money. Remember, in 1981, interest rates were between 18 and 25%. People still made money.
I'm just saying, people are whining. I mean, I walk out my front door, I just hear the complaining and the whining and the crying over these interest rates.
Well, historically, 7 to 8% is about normal. Historically, over the last 70 years, it's about the median. So we've had this almost free money game for 20 years, and now that it's popped, everybody's whining. And obviously, I was looking at a new car, and a used car, even a 2-year-old used car, was like 12% interest.
Yeah, it's going up.
It's crazy. The last car I got 4 years ago, it was like 5.5.
Yeah.
So
things are changing. So Bill, you could use the coupon code sub2 on all the docs. I mean, all of Bill's training up. We put it all in the link below. It's in the video description. You can get started rolling on that stuff. Creative finance, wraps. What is it? We're going to go over lease options in a minute, but my favorite, subject to. It's coming right from an attorney's mouth. So
that's fine. So we described a scenario where someone had a VA loan at under 3% interest, little equity. Okay. We take ownership of the property at closing, subject to his mortgage, keep paying it, and rent it, and for positive cash flow. Another variation is you take it subject to and you sell it on what's called a wrap. So you're owner financing it to a new buyer, and that loan wraps around the underlying loan.
got it.
So, for example, to use some math, if it's worth $350, first of all, you can sell it for more, because when you're carrying payments, you get more when you offer these terms. So let's say you sold it for $370, right? And you got a buyer with 20,000 down. So you're going to carry $350 at 8%. And you're making payments on $340 at 3%. That's a monster difference. It doesn't seem like much, but you're leveraging the existing financing. So it's not landlording. If you don't like landlording, this is a great strategy.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. And because who's paying the taxes, insurance, and maintenance? Your buyer is.
The buyer.
Where the buyer is. So you're collecting $350 at 8%. And paying $340 at 3%. And if you put that into an amortization calculator, it's probably, I'm going to guess, about $450 a month.
But not only that, the loan that you're taking is amortized. It's had some years to pay down, and it goes down faster, correct?
It goes down faster because it was, let's say the loan's 3 years old.
Or 5 years old, whatever.
Or 5 years old, it's only 25 years left.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting all over with your buyer at 30 years. And it amortizes faster on the underlying loan because it's a lower interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So towards the end, you're really starting to build some equity in the deal. But that's where the market works to our advantage. 5 years ago, I bought properties subject to a 3% loan and sold them at 5.5%. Now you could buy it at 3% and sell it at 8%.
Let's talk about that, Bill, before we move to. Let's talk about the real fast. What makes this time in American history so special, man, based on your outlook for 30-something years?
Right. Well, believe it or not, over 90% of existing loans out there are below 5%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Most people are not financing at 8%, 7%. So most loans out there are under 5%, and the majority of them are under 3%.
Wow.
So what we've got is a lot of people who have low interest rate loans. They want to sell. They got, even though it's still a seller's market for the most part, not like it was 2 years ago. It was a crazy seller's market where people were overbidding, and it was really crazy. Now we've kind of leveled out to sort of like a normal flat market. So find people with problems, because the average person's not going to do this. The average person wants to list it with a realtor, and they want full price so they can get all their equity out and buy another home. Mm-hmm. A lot of sellers don't want to sell now because they've got a 3% loan. And if they want to sell and buy another house to replace it at 8%, doesn't make sense. Unless you're willing to give them their price. Mm. So I'll give you your full stupid asking price that's insane if you let me take over that 3% loan.
Got it. Got it. That's a gangster stuff, Bill.
Yeah.
Wow. Does this stuff I know I'm reading somebody's mind that's watching this. Does this stuff work in every state, Bill, or has it been outlawed somewhere?
There's no state that makes this illegal. It's not illegal. There's not, I said before, there's no due on sale jail, because the mortgage has what's called a due on sale provision, which says if we do what I just said, take it subject to, the lender can demand payoff of the balance of the loan immediately. And the reality is they don't. I've been doing this for 32 years, and I've only seen 2 or 3 times where that happened, and they were very unique circumstances. So, there's a risk of it, but there's a lot of risks in real estate that are more than that.
Give me the reason.
Being a landlord, meth house, fire, flood, tenant files bankruptcy. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things that happen.
Dog bite. Bill, I've never once lost any sleep of a lender calling a note due. In fact, some of my people that I bought them from, they're like, Chris, the bank called. Just want to let you know. Sometimes, we might not make the payment to the 6th or 7th. Bank's calling already. They don't care. But what do you say to people that are scared, Bill?
Well, if you want to be safe, go to the bank, put 20% down, and borrow at 8%, if that works. If that makes you sleep at night, then go do that. There's a risk, but it's not a big one, and the reward is so big. I mean, let's go back to that VA loan. It's worth $350. They owe $340, 3% interest. You take it subject to, and you rent it in for positive cash flow. 3 years later, the lender says, pay it off. Okay, what did you lose? You give it back to the seller.
Give it back to him.
Give it back to him. That fixes the problem. Say thanks.
I don't think people understand how easy that is, Bill.
Yeah. Now, and the reality is, if this is going on a long time, you might have equity in the property, and you could refinance it, and hopefully in the future rates have dropped, or you could sell it.
I don't know.
But I've only seen it happen a couple of times, and they were very weird circumstances.
So you guys, if you're scared, take it from the guy who's been doing it.
Lawyer standpoint, it's not illegal what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
The lender has the option, if they choose to, make you pay off the loan. They choose not to in most cases, because why would they? If there's very little equity, and the mortgage is 3% and market rates are 7 or 8. It's not like 1981 where, if you had a 5% loan out there and market rates were 19, okay, that's risky.
Mm-hmm.
That's risky.
So let's move on to the next strategy. I had you for 35 minutes. Bill's time is tight.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the links in the video description below, guys. All of Bill's creative financing strategy training is right there. I forgot to hit save on the thing here, but it's there now. If you don't see it, just refresh your screen. It'll be there now. Use code SUB2 for 50% off of all of Bill's creative stuff. And this is what has kept me. In fact, I bought my last owner-occupied house with the creative strategies, the same strategies Bill teaches. Thank you for that.
Well, my first house that way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, $5,000 down. Took over the seller's payments at 7%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think this stuff is just for investors, savvy guys that are doing deals all the time.
I'm, as a lawyer, I am representing a lot of sellers and buyers and brokers. My phone is ringing off the hook from deals like people want to do a subject to deal. The broker doesn't understand it. Can you work through this?
A lot of that.
Because what you had was when COVID was over, prices popped like 30% in 1 year. And then the next year, 2022, people thought, oh, they'll pop another 30%, and they didn't. And then interest rates went up. So the market flattened, and people were asking too much, and they weren't willing to drop their price anymore. So they just pulled it off the market. Mm-hmm. And those people are ripe. Because you say, oh, your last listing price was $600. I'll give you $600, but you're going to do it like this.
Got it.
Right. And by the way, can you buy a list of expired listings? Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can. Okay, round it up, homies. Get just check out all this training while we're still gonna keep going here. But the link's right there in the video description. Use the code sub2. The Bill's back to school special. So, Bill, let's move on to lease options, and my second favorite technique.
Yeah, this is how I did my first year or two in investing. I did a bunch of these starting out. Same scenario, VA loan, worth 350. He owes 340, 3% loan. He's got a low payment. You lease the property from the owner to cover his mortgage payment, his principal, interest, taxes, insurance, the PITI.
So you talk about we're on the buy here, on the buy side.
Yeah, on the buy side. So I'm going to go to them and say, listen, I'll lease it from you. And let's say that lease payment is, with that low interest rate, like $1,800 a month. Market rent is $2,300 a month. So you sublet it for $2,300, $500 a month. Not bad on a house you don't own, but you have the option to buy it for the $340 for a period of 3 to 5 years. And as the values go up, you could sell that property to the tenant you're subletting to at tomorrow's price, $360, $365. So you're making a spread monthly. And then when your tenant or subtenant actually is ready to buy, you go back to the owner and say, I'm going to buy from you and sell it to my tenant.
So you're never even in a deal. You're never even owning it.
No. Well, you owned it for about 5 seconds when it went from the seller to you and then you to the subtenant. Mm-hmm. It was like a quick flip at that point. But in the meantime, you're making a spread. And by the way, you can do this without the option. You can just lease a house and sublet it as an Airbnb. Get a 5-year lease on a house and Airbnb it as a sublet.
Sweet.
You don't need to own the house.
So the lease option strategy on the buy, that's so not every seller is going to do subject to, or that not every seller is even going to do seller financing.
No, it's a toss-up. In the beginning, I did the lease option because I was afraid to ask them to give me the deed because I thought they might bite my head off. They think I'm nuts and throw me out of their house. It was interesting. As I evolved, I started asking for it. It's kind of a judgment call. If the seller's behind in payments, if they're motivated, if they don't have a dime to their name, they'll do a subject to. But if they're current, they're worried about their credit, they're not going to, you don't think they're going to just deed it over. Mm-hmm. Then you do the soft technique, which is the lease option. And then later, a couple of years later, you say, hey, let's convert this to a subject to. Just give me the house. In fact, I was mentoring this guy, Terry, years ago, and he had 7 lease options going, sandwich lease options, we call them, what I just described. And I said, why don't you go back and ask them for the deed? He goes, why would they do that? I said, because you asked. He goes, but I don't understand. What incentive do they have? I said, just ask them. So he goes into the parking lot, tells his wife, Bill's all wet. They'll never do it. He calls me 3 days later. He said, 5 out of 7 just gave it to me for asking. Just for the asking. It's different once you have a relationship with someone after a few years.
Yeah, I found that too. So on the buy, Bill, what if somebody just owns their property? Can they deploy the lease option strategy as well on the sell, on a creative thing?
Mm-hmm. So if you own a rental, you could sell it on a lease with option, or your principal residence, you could sell it on a lease with option, or you bought a house with the intent to fix and flip it, but you're in for it for too much in repairs, and you're not going to get the price you thought you would get. Refinance that hard money loan you bought it with into a loan with like a 5-year balloon, and then you sell it on a lease with option. Now, what's the advantage there? Higher price. You can do it without a broker, so you add 6% to the profit. And since you've owned the property more than 12 months, it's a long-term capital gain as opposed to fixing and flipping it in 6 months, which is a short-term capital gain.
Got it.
Different tax rate.
Hmm.
So it's a way to salvage a fix and flip that went bad.
That's cool. Lease options. It's a strategy, man. I never forget hearing about it in 2007. Once again, it took me 3 years to deploy it. I wish I would have done it. Just listening to guys like you, and lease option has just saved my butt every time, Bill. I don't want to do the repairs. Just like you said, I don't want to do the repairs. You just pass it on to the tenant buyer.
Right. I had this property that was a real loser. I did a lease option on, and the tenant that I subletted to destroyed it. So I'm like, what do I do now? I don't want to go back to the owner and tell him. And I don't want to fork out all the money. So I put out a sign on the fence that said, rent to own, 0 down, you fix it.
Wow.
And I got so many calls. Oh my God. I got dozens and dozens of calls from handymen and contractors. So instead of getting a down payment, it's 0 down, but you do the work. That's your down payment.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And I got more calls on that than I did previously when I offered it with small down.
Small. What's weird, Bill? I think people, well, I know my community thinks that we have to do all the repairs to rental properties.
Mm-mm. Let somebody else do it. Joint venture with a contractor. Offer it as a handyman special.
Let somebody else do this stuff, y'all. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone. Bill, we're at 45 minutes. I got some Q&A real quick. I put your land trust thing in there too. Ed, one of our members, thank you. He's got a seller selling at 200, property's worth 400, needs 100 down, and is going to finance the other 2. I'm nervous about I won't be able to find a hard money lender to give me the 100K. House is free and clear.
Yeah, well, because that hard money loan is a second mortgage.
We said it's free and clear, Bill.
Free and clear. Oh, I'm sorry. Selling for 200. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he owed 200.
He's
So
selling for 200.
selling for 200, the property's worth 390 fixed up. You should be able to borrow 60 to 70% of 390.
No doubt.
And you can borrow 200. Nah, forget that way. I got a better way. Forget that way. The seller wants 100 grand down, right? Borrow 150. Okay. From a hard money lender. 100 at closing goes to the seller, and the other 50 is to rehab the house. And then the seller takes the balance of his 100 as a note that's second to the hard money lender. We call that a subordination. I talk about that in my creative financing course.
He says that he's already willing to finance the rest of the 100, Bill.
So the seller carries it for 6 months or a year. You borrow 150. At closing, 100 goes to the seller. You got 100 down. You give him a note for 100. There's 200.
Yep.
You got the 50 to rehab it. If you need more, then borrow 180.
Yeah, that's a smoker.
Yeah.
Edward, I don't know why you're nervous. Bill, why would he be nervous? He can't get hard money. I don't know. They're not. That's a no-brainer, correct?
No brainer.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Edward, go for that one, bro. As long as you're going to flip it. That's a good one. Put your questions in the chat real quick. And while you're doing your questions in there, make sure you use the coupon code SUB2. The link is in the video description. All of Bill's creative financing techniques and strategy training, 50% off. Back to school special from Bill Bronchick, real estate attorney.
And this isn't back to school like back to school. This is everybody watching going back to school.
Back to real estate school. I'm like, Bill, I'm still getting trained, man. I go real stuff.
I learn new every day.
Man, it's crazy. Some always new. People be like, Chris, why are you getting trained? And I'm like, I'm still learning. The attorney's learning. I'm learning too.
Always learning.
Let there be like, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Don Gunnon. Let's say I have 2 LLCs, 1, 2, 3, and ABC. I buy a house under my ABC and borrow the money from a private lender under 1, 2, 3, and put a lien on the same property. Do it done all the time. Will the lien against the property still stand firm regardless of what LLC name I bought the property in, being I'm still signing in my name for both LLCs? Bill Bronchick.
I'm not sure I understand the question, but if the question is, will the transferring of property from one LLC to another have the lien stay in place? The answer is yes. Because people get confused with subject to.
Yeah,
They think that if you transfer ownership, what about the mortgage still in the seller's name? It's the note is still in the seller's name, but the lien is still against the property.
There you go. Don Gunnon, I hope you got that. That lien's going to stay regardless whether you sign it, your family signs it, Bill signs it. The lien ain't going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
The lien's going to still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Bill, Ideal House Deal wants to know, who do you suggest to target for these type of leads?
Wow, there's so many. Expired listings,
That's a big one.
absentee owners, people who don't live in the house.
How about people with multiple mortgages, Bill?
People with multiple you can find people with multiple mortgages who are in default. You can buy a list of almost anything that's public record. You can buy a list of probates, people who just inherited property. Referrals are really the best. I've always found that referrals, if someone knows someone who's in a tough situation with a house, that's the best lead.
Yeah. Ideal has one more. Do you get the buyer on a wrap? Do you get the buyer balloon prepayment penalty, Bill?
I don't do a prepayment penalty, and you can't do a balloon, unfortunately, because of lending regulations don't allow it.
When you sell?
Yeah, when you sell.
Got it. You don't see a link. Mia, hey, that link, just refresh your screen for Bill's training. That link is right there. It wasn't there before. Sorry about that. Use the coupon code SUB2. Yes, we got it back in there. We're back in the house. Jay, do a video on how we get refinancing with a land trust and LLC as beneficiary.
You don't need a video. I'll tell you the real short answer.
Hit it, Bill.
You find yourself a local commercial bank or a DSCR lender who doesn't care. Most lenders won't let you do this. Fannie, Freddie, they won't let you do this. But I've financed properties and refinanced them in a land trust with an LLC beneficiary with my local commercial branch bank, and they were fine with it.
Mm-hmm. You really got to go look for people that speak your language. I have to remind myself too. Like when I'm having a little frustrated time in my business, I'm like, Chris, you're talking to the wrong people. That's it.
Yeah. If you called 9 out of 10 title companies would tell you subject to is illegal.
Yep. Talk to the wrong people.
Talk to the right people.
That's right. People like Bill, but unfortunately, they're hard to find. I mean,
yeah, that's why I got so much business.
I'm sure. I can only imagine.
So many times.
I can only imagine. How do we get? Yeah, the links. Sorry about that. The links in the. Michelle, where can we get the list of expired listings? Bill?
Google expired real estate listings and your state or city. There's everything that's public record is being sold. Free foreclosures, same thing.
Same thing. So Michelle, you can Google it. You can go right there. There's a link. If you see chrispropertydata.com.
There you go.
We got PropStream. There you go. PropStream, they come right in.
Yeah, it's got all those leads.
All the stuff there.
And software.
Yep. Once you satisfy the leads coming in, your business will be. We go to chrispropertydata.com and you can just type in expired listings and you can put a zip code in there, or is it area code? Zip code or area code? Which one is the one at the end of the address?
Zip code.
Zip code. Yeah, you can put the zip code in there. Michelle, good question. Good stuff. Good. Katie, can I do something creative like that for my first home, Bill?
It's much easier to do that, Katie, because you're not coming in as a vulture in their mind trying to steal their property. You're just looking for a home for you and your family. And it doesn't have to cash flow. It just has to be something you like and you can afford the payment.
Got it.
Easy.
Hey, Bill, we got somebody saying here, Rayco says the coupon code is not working, Bill. You want to check that?
I know I put it in there. Where are they doing the link from? From your website?
Yeah, we gave them all We gave him all the links from I pulled them from yours. You should, if you went to, probably added on to all of it. Maybe I didn't put it on there.
Yeah, it's there. Sub 2. Sub 2. SUBTO.
Yeah. Let's make it work. Oh, let's see. Okay. Well, we'll check on it in a minute, guys. Make sure we'll get you straight. So, Bill, I had you for 50 minutes, man. How much time we got?
Whatever you need. My meeting starts at, I'm on Pacific time. It's 4:00 and I got it. My meeting starts at 5.
Gotcha. Okay. What else we got here? Land trust. Thunder. How does the land trust not violate the mortgage agreement causing the mortgagee to do the due on sale clause, Bill?
It does. It does, but they don't care. They just don't care.
So y'all got to get that through your head, man.
Yeah, they don't care. Can they call it due? Yes, they can. Is it likely? No. So it's a risk reward.
You got to get that. You got to just, unfortunately, y'all, you're going to have to just get over it.
Right.
I know this.
I was doing a workshop on this recently, and a guy was doing this on cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was taking subject to car loans, and then putting them on Turo and renting them out.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know either. He also leased cars. He was doing an unauthorized sublease.
Oh man, that was pretty gangster.
Yeah, cool.
You're talking about
hacking those car loans to do and putting them on Turo and making a bunch of money.
That's crazy right there. Michelle, Bill, what state are you licensed if title companies don't know how or won't do creative closings?
Colorado and New York. My brother is licensed in Florida, though. He has a title company.
So y'all just send Bill a message. He'll give you that information.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to find them. Bill, tell people how they find somebody to do these creative deals, because it ain't easy.
It's not easy. Find your local real estate investors association in your city and go to their website. They have like recommended vendors, and hopefully there's a title company there.
Got it. Okay, for all my roundup homies, I had you for an hour, Bill. I don't want to keep holding you on. Listen, Bill's giving you I call it real estate school. I still do trainings all the time. Back to real estate school. He's giving you a killer price today. Final thoughts, Bill, for people that are nervous about doing creative financing, or let me say this: people that think that going to the bank loan, putting down 20%, getting underwritten, and all that stuff is the only way to buy.
And well, if you get stuck inside that box, you're always going to be in that box. There's only so many loans you can get, and there's only so many down payments you can put down before you run out of money. Yeah. I started doing this because I was forced to. I didn't have the ability to go out and borrow money. I didn't have 20% down on every deal.
Yeah.
And I frankly haven't gone to a bank to get a mortgage loan in probably 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Something, isn't it? Once you get out of that box,
yeah,
hard to go back in it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of us were forced in, Bill. I was too. I got foreclosed on so many times during the crash in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it. So it was almost like I was forced into this world.
Yeah. And that's the problem. People are too complacent. The difference between a rut and a grave is the depth of the hole.
It's deeper.
You're in a rut. You're going to soon be in a grave. Hey, you got to motivate yourself to get out of, comfort zone.
That's deep. Okay, y'all, that's it for our training tonight. So now you understand there's several different ways to buy. We went over 3 or 4 here tonight. There's some other stuff. Then Bill's got the training in the video description. Get educated, upgrade your frequency, upgrade your vibrations to where the experts are. And Bill's been doing this. He's one of my mentors. Okay. Bill, thank you so much, my brother.
My pleasure, Chris. Always a pleasure. Your audience is great folks, always have great questions, and very grateful for the advice, which I appreciate as a lawyer. People appreciate my time, and I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Round up. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.